In a serene village, there was a vast hermitage dedicated to Gautam Buddha. The hermitage was a place of peace and learning, where a renowned Buddhist teacher resided. This teacher, known for his wisdom and serenity, was surrounded by a group of devoted disciples. Among these disciples, there was one who was particularly known for his incessant talking. This disciple seemed unable to control his urge to speak and would constantly engage in conversations, sharing stories, and gossiping about others. He was always found talking here and there, never taking a moment to reflect in silence. Whenever he went to collect donations, he would return with tales from every household, which he would then relay to the other disciples. This habit of his often led to backbiting and spreading negativity within the hermitage. He portrayed himself as superior, frequently boasting about his sacrifices and intelligence in front of the master and the other disciples. He prided himself on his background, claiming, "I come from a wealthy family. I could have lived a life of luxury, but I chose to renounce it all to seek the truth, to understand myself and life. My sacrifice is greater than yours." This disciple had a way of making himself seem more important and virtuous than his peers. He would often say, "I have given up more than any of you could ever imagine. I could be living in comfort, surrounded by luxury, but instead, I am here, seeking enlightenment." His constant chatter and boasting became a source of disturbance for the other disciples, who were there to seek peace and wisdom. One day, the master called all the disciples together for an important announcement. With a calm and steady voice, he said, "Each of you must take a resolution for the next month. This will strengthen your determination and self-discipline. Choose a resolution that you believe you can uphold, but if you fail to keep it, you will return to your usual routine." The disciples were intrigued and began to think about what resolutions they could take. Each disciple chose their resolutions according to their abilities. Some chose to fast on certain days, some decided to meditate for longer hours, while others opted to refrain from certain luxuries. However, the talkative disciple, eager to prove himself, approached the master directly. With a sense of pride and determination, he said, "Master, I don't want a simple resolution. I want a grand challenge that matches my capabilities. Please, Master, give me a worthy resolution." The master, smiling, responded, "Are you sure you can fulfill the resolution I give you? It might be too difficult for you." Confidently, the disciple replied, "Master, I can fulfill any resolution you give me." The master then said, "For the next month, you must remain completely silent. Not a single word should escape your lips. This is your resolution." Surprised, the disciple remarked, "Master, is this even a resolution? This seems too easy. Give me a challenge worthy of my abilities." The master responded, "First, fulfill this resolution. If you succeed, we can discuss a more challenging one." Determined, the disciple accepted the challenge and immediately began his vow of silence. Initially, the disciple found it easy to remain silent. He went about his day quietly, observing others but not speaking. He attended the daily rituals, meditated, and performed his duties without uttering a single word. The first few days passed without much struggle, and he began to feel confident in his ability to maintain silence for a month. However, by the second day, he began to feel the weight of his silence. The urge to speak grew stronger with each passing moment. By the third day, a heavy burden grew in his mind, and by the fourth day, a strange uneasiness settled over him. He felt a desperate urge to speak, to join in conversations with the other disciples. The silence started to feel like a heavy weight on his chest. Despite his resolve, he struggled internally. He could not express himself, could not participate in the discussions around him. This silent struggle caused him immense distress, and soon he fell ill. His head throbbed, and he lost his appetite. All he wanted was to speak. The once confident disciple now found himself grappling with a challenge that seemed insurmountable. One day, feeling overwhelmed, he approached the master. With a trembling hand, he wrote on a piece of paper, "Master, I cannot breathe without speaking. I feel like I'm suffocating. What should I do? Should I break my resolution?" Reading this, the master smiled gently and said, "Resolutions are meant to be tested. Those who uphold their resolutions strengthen their inner power. You can break your resolve and return to your old routine, but remember, if you cannot handle this small challenge, how will you face life's greater challenges? The choice is yours. The disciple, deeply affected by the master's words, returned to his room without saying anything. He decided to isolate himself further, only leaving his room for essential needs. Days turned into weeks, and the time for his resolution was nearing its end. He began to experience a transformation. He realized that his constant need to talk was a way to seek validation and attention. In the silence, he started to listen to his own thoughts and feelings. He began to understand the reasons behind his incessant talking. The internal noise, the chaos of his mind, started to settle. He found himself spending more time in meditation, reflecting on his actions and thoughts. He started to appreciate the beauty of silence and the peace it brought. 15 days passed, and most of the disciples had broken their resolutions. However, the talkative disciple remained silent. Curious about his progress, he visited the master again and wrote, "Master, I am silent on the outside, but inside, my mind is noisy. I constantly question and complain. Is my resolution still valid?" The master replied, "Yes, your resolution continues. But as long as external voices reach your ears, your mind will not be silent. To achieve true silence, you must distance yourself from these distractions." Taking the master's advice, the disciple ventured into the forest, seeking solitude. He walked deep into the forest, away from the hermitage and the noise of daily life. He found a quiet spot near a stream and decided to stay there. In the solitude of the forest, he continued his vow of silence. The sounds of nature surrounded him, the rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds, the gentle flow of the stream. Initially, the silence amplified the noise within him. He heard all the hurtful things he had said to his family, friends, and fellow disciples. It was only then that he realized how wrong he had been. The words he had spoken in anger, in jealousy, and in pride echoed in his mind. He felt a deep sense of regret and sorrow. Slowly, the internal noise began to fade. As he embraced the external silence, he achieved inner peace. He started to hear the sounds of nature with full consciousness. For the first time, he experienced true peace, both externally and internally. The beauty of the forest, the harmony of nature, brought a sense of calm that he had never felt before. Days turned into weeks, and the time for his resolution ended, but the disciple did not return. The other disciples feared he had fallen prey to wild animals. Despite extensive searches, he remained missing. The master, however, believed differently. One day, a disciple asked him, "Master, do you think he was harmed by animals?" The master replied, "Perhaps. But it is also possible that he found what he was seeking." 3 months passed, and one day, the disciple returned to the monastery. His arrival brought immense joy and relief to everyone. But it was clear that he had changed profoundly. There was a serene calmness on his face and a deep peace in his eyes. Surrounded by his fellow disciples, he spoke slowly and sweetly, his words measured and thoughtful. After greeting everyone, he went to the master, bowed deeply, and said, "Master, am I still silent? Is my resolution still on?" The master looked into his eyes and replied, "Yes, you are still silent. Your resolution is ongoing." The disciple continued, "When I left the monastery, I was silent externally, but internally, there was chaos. My mind was filled with questions and complaints. I hoped that solitude in the forest would bring peace. Initially, the silence amplified the noise within me. I heard all the hurtful things I had said to my family, friends, and fellow disciples. It was only then that I realized how wrong I had been. Slowly, the internal noise began to fade. As I embraced the external silence, I achieved inner peace. I started to hear the sounds of nature, the wind, the birds, the flowing water, with full consciousness. For the first time, I experienced true peace, both externally and internally." He continued, "Master, I am speaking now, but I am still silent within. I am surrounded by people, yet I feel alone in the best way possible. In solitude, I found my true self. Now, even amidst the crowd, I am at peace." The master nodded and said, "When we stop speaking externally, we start hearing the true sounds around us and within us. Most conflicts arise from unnecessary speaking. True peace comes from inner silence. You have discovered this truth. The master then addressed all the disciples. One of life's greatest challenges is learning to remain silent. Our constant need to speak creates most of our suffering. We argue and quarrel because we cannot hold our tongues. By speaking less and listening more, we can transform our lives. Silence allows us to conserve our energy and turn inward, where true wisdom resides. Those who have achieved enlightenment often sought solitude to find inner peace. But even amidst the noise of the world, one can maintain inner silence by speaking only when necessary and listening more. This inner journey requires closing the mouth and opening the heart and mind. The lesson of the story is clear: unnecessary talking is a waste of energy and hinders our inner journey. To truly understand ourselves and find peace, we must embrace silence, both externally and internally. The disciples' journey showed that true transformation comes from within, and by embracing silence, we can discover our true selves and achieve inner peace. I hope you enjoyed this story and found it insightful. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Wisdom Insights Path for more enlightening stories.